When I arrived at St. Elizabeth University, I quickly understood why students, employees, and visitors are enamored with our beautiful campus. The staff at St. E's takes immense pride in being a safe place for all to learn and grow. However, because we are an open campus, we must always keep in mind that it is possible for someone to come onto our property with the intent of causing harm. While highly unlikely, we have seen instances over the years where active shooter situations have occurred, and it's critical that all members of the SEU campus community know how to react to protect yourself and others. There are actionable steps and options you can take. The following video intends to give you an overview of what to do based on the latest data and research if the unimaginable happens here. Sadly, no organization in our society today is completely immune to these types of horrifying incidents. With this in mind, please pay close attention to the information provided on how each of us can react to prevent injuries and save lives should the need ever arise. Thank you for watching.
This video is a brief introduction to ALICE, a strategy you can employ in an active shooter emergency situation. I am a certified ALICE instructor, and I will now take you through this proactive options-based strategy for survival. The ALICE technique augments previously taught strategies and builds off of statistical and situational analysis of past shooting events. This analysis taught us that we should move away from the lockdown or run, hide, fight strategies, which have been the traditional way of responding to shooting emergencies. It's important to explain how we got to the ALICE technique from the traditional lockdown strategy. Lockdowns, as a procedure, started in the late 1970s. The lockdown language was reflective of the violent patterns of that time, which often come from threats or actions that were external to a given community. The violence being responded to often centered around activities outside school grounds, and students were therefore taught to hide in their classrooms and under their desks, while staff actively locked access points to the buildings or grounds. Why did the lockdown strategy make sense? Because the violence was primarily from external threats, not associated with the school. Therefore, the prevailing thought was that the vulnerable students were best secured being locked down, away from harm outside the buildings. Security professionals began to reevaluate the way schools educated students and employees about active shooter situations following the 1999 Columbine shootings in Littleton, Colorado. In a 911 tape of the incident, a school employee in the library calls police saying they can hear shooting. While the instincts of the students and staff in the school were to get up and run away, they reacted according to their training and hid in lockdown, making them easier targets to the internal threat. Research and data show that in school shootings with an internal threat like Columbine, Sandy Hook, or Virginia Tech, the shooter's bullets strike the victims 50% of the time, often fatally. For a comparison, when a trained police officer is engaged in a gunfight, only 20% of fired bullets hit their intended target. Students and teachers were being taught a strategy that placed them in greater harm based on the internal nature of the threat. ALICE was created as a reaction to lockdown and stay in place to give more empowerment to innocent bystanders caught in an emergency response situation. ALICE stands for Alert, Lockdown, Inform, Counter, and Evacuate. ALICE is approved by the federal government as a way to educate students and school employees for potential active shooter situations. Statistically, the ALICE technique gives students, faculty, and staff more options for survival than other responses, which is why almost 19 million individuals across the country have received the training. While it may seem like the acronym of ALICE is a series of steps to perform, It's really just an easy way for you to remember the 5 individual options you can decide to use to stay safe. Your decision of which option to use should be based on the situation, and you can vary your options as the situation unfolds. Sometimes it may make sense to run away or to lock down. Sometimes you may have no choice but to fight back. As you continually reassess your strategy, implementing the ALICE principles will help you assess which strategy should be employed. Remember, the ALICE acronym is not a series of sequential steps. Each letter stands for one of several options you can utilize during an emergency. The A in ALICE stands for alert. It represents the way you learn about the emerging, threatening situation and how you share that information with others. You may see the aggressor either close or far away. You may hear gunshots, screams for help, or other loud noises. You may hear of a situation from another person, or you may receive a text or other emergency alert message from the university. Once notified of the danger, you must take some kind of action. For example, if you can't get out of the room or building you're in quickly, or you don't feel you have enough information to leave safely, you may need to lock down by locking and barricading the door, thereby trying to prevent the aggressor from getting to you. As soon as you are safe, immediately dial 911 and give the dispatchers as many details as possible.
I'm in one of the classrooms. Yeah, we just heard a bunch of shots.
This will help others be notified of the danger and help police get to you faster. Alert notifications to the entire campus will be sent once we know there is a danger present. Be sure individuals around you are aware of the information regarding the danger present.
Hey, we need to go. There's a shit. Wait, my bad. No, go.
Earlier, I noted that ALICE was created as a response to the old lockdown strategy. You may wonder why lockdown remains as one of the options in ALICE. Lockdown has evolved from simply hiding under desks and now incorporates movement and action.
Let's go through the 4 Ps of marketing and talk
There's a guy with a gun out there.
Call 911, tell them what you
Today,
saw.
lockdown means moving quickly into a remote area that can be closed off by a door or other barrier, and then locking and barricading the door or barrier before reassessing your options. One thing to consider during an active shooter situation is time. According to the FBI, nearly 70% of active shooter incidents last less than 5 minutes, and 36% last less than 2 minutes. The realities of time during an active shooter situation should impact how we think about our options, including lockdown. Active shooters often want to inflict as much harm in as short an amount of time as possible. Utilizing a lockdown strategy can be an effective response because taking down an entire door in order to get into a classroom is likely far too time-consuming for an aggressor. As you can see from this door, it's still intact despite receiving gunshots. While a lockdown strategy can be effective for these reasons, it's important to note that the bullets you see here did go through the doors, even if they didn't break the door down. Know the difference between cover and concealment. The door is concealment. It hides you, but does not protect you from bullets. Cover is cinder block. So do not stand behind a door and think that's going to be something which will protect you from the bullets. In lockdown, you should stack chairs, desks, tables, or other items against the door entryway, as the aggressor most likely will not want to spend time pushing through these obstacles. This can be effective even if a door does not have a lock or is able to be unlocked, or is open from either direction. See how this belt can be used to lock a door? Once you have locked and barricaded the door and have moved away from the door, you should start to devise a plan for how you will respond should the shooter
Call
attempt to get
911,
into
tell them
your
what you
area.
saw.
Coordinate
Everybody
your
else,
actions,
take a
assess
weapon
the
and
room,
scatter.
and start to gather items that you can use to protect yourself. Get creative with what could be used to distract, disorient, disrupt, and disarm against an aggressor's attack. Shoes, books, backpacks, cell phones, and laptops could all be of use. Talk with others around you and devise a single plan. Don't wait until the shooter attempts to enter your area to have a plan of action.
He's got a rifle.
Remember,
he's like 6
you
feet
called the
tall.
police and they are on
He's got
their
a
way.
black hoodie.
However, when the police arrive, their initial mission will be stopping the aggressor from harming more individuals as quickly as possible. They will not immediately assist those already injured or attempt to evacuate individuals. The I in Alice refers to inform. Any information regarding the shooter is critical. Whenever possible, if you see or hear something that can help the police assess where the shooter is located, you or someone in your area should immediately dial 911 and relay any potential important information to the dispatcher. Your information may direct the police quickly to the aggressor and could save lives. Updated information that is received by 911 dispatchers can also be sent to others on campus through our alert system. If you receive updates regarding an active police response or the last verified whereabouts of the aggressor, this information may provide explicit directions and/or assist you as you create a plan such as staying in lockdown, evacuating the building, or preparing for something else. The C in Alice stands for counter. Counter is always a last resort. If the aggressor gets to you before you barricade the door, or if the shooter makes it into your safe space, you might need to enact the counter option immediately. Using anything you have access to as a weapon, such as a cell phone, books, book bags, and/or desk. You, your classmates, and your professors are facing a direct attack. This is the time to take action. Let's review what a counter can do when you do not have a gun and are facing someone with one. In counter, we're going to try to distract, disorient, disrupt, and eventually disarm the subject. These are the 4 Ds. Research shows that aggressors often have a picture in their mind of how the entire situation will unfold, called an OODA loop. This idea was developed by Air Force Lieutenant Colonel John Byrd. It is an acronym for Observe, Orient, Decide, and Act. Following his arrest, the aggressor in the 2018 shooting at Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida, discussed how he'd gone into the school to inflict harm and had assumed that everybody in the building would run or hide in fear. This is a real-life case of an active shooter's OODA loop, something we'll look to counter in our example. Let's play out counter in a hypothetical scenario. Before a shooter enters a classroom, they assume they'll be living out their OODA loop, which is 20 or 30 people in a corner, hiding underneath desks, or in a corner, not doing anything active, making it easier for a shooter to do great harm. With the power of counter, we can change that. Our activity and motion will cause a distraction. The goal of this disorienting behavior is to disrupt the shooter's OODA loop and lead to disarming them. The first thing we're going to do to counter is spread out in the room, rather than being huddled in a corner as a group. When the aggressor enters the room and sees people spread out, they'll be disoriented and distracted, and they're confronted with a scene inconsistent with their OODA loop. Multiple individuals in the room can then attempt to counter the aggressor by group tackling them, hopefully overwhelming them with the weight of multiple people. Once on the floor, try to isolate the shooter from their weapon. If you've accomplished this, someone in the room should immediately inform the police to update them on the situation, while others continue subduing the aggressor until the police arrive. Carefully place a trash can or other large item over the weapon and guard it until the police arrive. You should not be holding the weapon for any reason. If you do, you could be mistaken by police as being the aggressor as you or the police enter the hallway or exit the building. The E in Alice stands for evacuate. Unless instructed otherwise by campus security, at any time you feel it's safe, you may choose to evacuate the room. Self-evacuation is always the first option, always. Once you have evacuated, go to a safe area. It is important to note you will need to be interviewed by police and/or school officials. So please stay in the safe area until this process is complete. How do we know the situation is over and it's safe to leave the room? You will get a message through the campus alert system that the situation has been resolved. along with guidance on what you should do next. I know that none of this is easy to think about, but it is extremely important to have in mind. I want to leave you with this. These circumstances are incredibly rare, and while they receive national headlines, they are not the norm of our experiences. Yet, it is important for us to be prepared and ready, and routinely review what we should do if the unthinkable should occur. Remember, the active shooter is coming with the intent to cause as much harm as possible in the least amount of time. We must be thinking, what can we do to keep ourselves and others safe? The skills and strategies we have gone over today apply to an active shooter situation anywhere. No matter where you are, you can implement these strategies. As we have discussed, ALICE is an acronym for the 5 options you have during an active shooter emergency: alert, lockdown, inform, counter, evacuate. Again, these are not sequential steps that should be taken in chronological order. There are 5 options that you can employ as you assess your situation and figure out the best action to take based on the information you have at a given moment. If you have any questions about this training, please reach out to me at the contact information at the end of this video. Thank you.